Hi, zebras. You know it. It's time for a story. Story time, story time, story time just now. All the birds are listening. Story time just now. Point to the ceiling, point to the floor, point to the window, point to the door. Clap your hands together. 1, 2, 3. Place them gently on your knees. I have got a classic tale today, and it's a long one, so everyone better be ready. It is called The 101 Dalmatians. And I'm going to read the summary at the back for those of you who don't know what the story is about, okay? When Pongo and Mrs. puppies are stolen, they know that Cruella de Vil is to blame. But can the Dalmatians rescue their precious pups in time? Dalmatians, do you all know what Dalmatians are? Dalmatians are a breed of dog. They're the little white dogs and they have black spots. They're called the Dalmatians. Okay, let's hear the story. The 101 Dalmatians. Okay, I want everyone to be able to see the book nicely. Once there were 2 Dalmatians named Pongo and Mrs. They lived with Mr. and Mrs. Dearly in a big house in London. "Dear Pongo," said Mrs. one day, "we are going to have puppies. Do you see Pongo and Mrs.? There they are, the big Dalmatians. There's Pongo and there's Mrs. And Pongo and Mrs. are going to have puppies." But Mrs. didn't just have 1 puppy or 2 or 3. She had 15. The biggest puppy was called Patch. He looked after Tiny Cadpig, the smallest puppy of all. One afternoon, a woman came to the house. Her name was Cruella de Vil. "What delightful dogs!" declared Cruella. "I will buy them all." "We'll never sell them," said Mr. Dearly firmly. "Pity," muttered Cruella as she left. "They would make an enchanting fur coat." Pongo growled. "I don't like Cruella de Vil," he said. "Nor do I," said Mrs. "She's enough to frighten the spots off a pup." Not long afterwards, Pongo and Mrs. went out for a walk, but when they returned, they had a nasty shock. Where were the puppies? "Perhaps they're hiding," said Pongo, but they were nowhere in the house. "My poor pups have been stolen," wailed Mrs. Mr. and Mrs. Dearly called the police. They put adverts in the newspapers, but it was no use. The puppies had vanished. That evening, Pongo and Mrs. sat on a nearby hill and barked. "Help!" they cried. 15 Dalmatian puppies stolen." Many dogs heard them, but no one had seen the puppies. But then, from far away, they heard an old sheepdog. "I have seen your puppies," he barked gruffly. "They are at a house called Hell Hall." "We must go there and rescue them," said Mrs. "You're right," said Pongo. "We will leave tonight." When the dearlies were asleep, Pongo and Mrs. slipped silently from the house. They ran through the freezing streets and out into the countryside. On and on they went, through sleeping villages and frosty fields. At last they reached Hell Hall. The old sheepdog greeted them warmly. His name was the Colonel. "What a frightening house," said Mrs. "It belongs to a woman named Cruella de Vil," said the Colonel. "I knew it," said Pongo. "Cruella stole our puppies." The house was surrounded by a high wall. How would the dogs get in? The Colonel knew a way. He led Pongo and Mrs. into an old tower. When they reached the top, Mrs. peeped out and gasped. She could see her puppies and dozens more. "Cruella has been collecting Dalmatian puppies," said the Colonel. "She wants to make them all into furry, spotty fur coats." "Then we must save them all," said Mrs. Two men came out of the house. "That's Saul and Jasper," said the Colonel. "They are guarding the pups for Cruella, but they spend most of their time watching television." That evening, Pongo and Mrs. crept up to the house. "There's Lucky!" cried Mrs. "Mom! Dad!" exclaimed Lucky. "We knew you'd rescue us." "Come on, I'll take you to the others. If we're quiet, Saul and Jasper won't notice a thing." Suddenly, they heard a voice outside the door. "Saul! Jasper! Where are you?" It was Cruella de Vil. "The whole countryside is looking for those pups," snarled Cruella. "I want you to make them into spotty fur coats tonight." She slammed the door and went upstairs to bed. "It'll take ages to round up all these pups," grumbled Jasper. "Let's watch some more TV first." "Now's our chance to escape," whispered Pongo, as he and Mrs. silently led the pups out through a kitchen window. On the way, they ate everything in sight. "Cruella won't have any breakfast," laughed Pongo. "Serves her right," said Mrs. Soon the Dalmatians were all out of the tower and on the other side of the wall. "Cruella is sure to come after you," said the Colonel. "You must leave at once." "It's a long way home," frowned Mrs. "The puppies are too small to walk all that way, especially Cadpig." "Don't worry," smiled the old sheepdog. "Cadpig can ride in this toy cart." "Good idea," said Pongo. "Thanks for your help," said Mrs. "My pleasure," said the Colonel. "Goodbye and good luck." The Dalmatians raced bravely through the night, but it wasn't long before the puppies grew cold and exhausted, and then it started to snow. "We'll never make it to London," sighed Pongo. "Toot toot! That's Cruella's car!" cried Mrs. "It's coming this way!" Cruella was getting closer, but there was nowhere to hide. Then Mrs. spotted a big van parked nearby, and sitting in the back of the van was a little terrier. "Help!" barked Pongo. "We are being chased." "You're the missing Dalmatians," said the terrier. "Quick, jump in." The Dalmatians scrambled into the van just in time. Cruella zoomed right past them. "Look!" cried Mrs. "She's kidding!" Crash! Cruella's car slid off the road into a ditch. "Right," crackled the terrier. "My driver's heading to London. Need a lift?" "Yes, please," said Pongo and Mrs. It was snowing heavily outside when Mr. and Mrs. Dearly heard barking. They dashed to the door, and in ran dozens of Dalmatians. "It's Pongo and Mrs. and their puppies," cried Mr. Dearly. "And many more puppies besides," said Mrs. Dearly, and they started to count them all. As the Dearlys finished counting, the clock struck midnight. "It's Christmas Day," said Mrs. Dearly. "Well done, Pongo and Mrs. We've got the best Christmas present ever. 101 Dalmatians." The end. Wasn't that a lovely story? Now, I would like us all to learn how to count past 10. Okay, we are not going to count up to 101 right now in the video, but you can practice doing that at home. Why not? I only want us to count to who can remember how many puppies Pongo and Mrs. first had. Let's see. But Mrs. didn't just have one puppy, or two, or three. She had 15. So, let's all together count to 15, okay? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. So easy. And let's clap 15 times together. Okay? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Thank you, zebras. Keep counting. Bye.